Hey Kingdom, enjoy this cool last Epoch build, Spellblade, or Spellblade of course. This dual wielding mage, you will enjoy it. As always, let me show you how this build played out, so you may consider taking and making this build yourself. So first of all, we are dual wielding mage. We got teleport ability, so we can blink for short distances. But at the same time, we got nice protection and ward. So flame ward will give us a lot of additional layer to our health pool and effective HP. And basically, we will be doing shattering strike. That's what all build is all about. It will cost crazy amount of mana, so you need a lot of mana, more than 150 when you play in this build. I'm just starting to build in it, and it's already super cool and fun build to play. So you can start it right away. You don't need specific uniques and other items. You can play with just basic stuff from the shop. And even with basic stuff from the shop, it already can do around 5k damage per second. But when we go in and use an enchant weapon, our damage is already almost doubled or tripled. That's crazy. Just look at this bro in action. You just gather around a lot of enemies and turn in all your buffs and then go and shred through all of them, restoring your mana and then shredding again. So I don't know, it's looking cool. That's definitely insane. Oh my goodness, it's crazy. So, if you enjoy this playstyle and how it looks and you want to build it yourself, watch closely. I will explain everything from skills to passives and what is this build all about, how to make it work. So, coolest part, when you get in your Spellblade Mastery, you instantly get this Shatter Strike ability. And this build comes online really early. Let's go with skills first. You can start leveling as normal mage with fireballs or whatever you like, but when I'm leveling these builds, I'm kinda, want to have fun in early game and not just grind. So I'm playing as Spellblade from the start most of the time by using Mana Strike to replenish my mana, still going into melee and casting Elemental Novas from the melee range, Snap Freeze, doing something like that. But our main abilities that we're leveling from the early game will be Mana Strike, Teleport, and Flame Ward to get this build and online as early as possible. Let's start with Teleport, and Teleport will be for traveling through the map faster and also to have some protective layers. Because we're a melee fighter mage, we don't need to be squishy. First node that I like to level up is Comet Rush over here. Teleport will have shorter cooldown and you will have haste when you're teleporting, so it's just traveling faster node. Get 4 points in here and then go and finish everything that will give you protection. So we're going to bottom left and get in Crystalline Passage to increase cold resistance and also armor. And then we get in Time Dilation. It will increase stat buff duration, and basically we'll double it with 5 points in it, but don't rush 5 points, get only 1-2 points, and instead get 1 point in Mana Tunnel. Your spell will be refunded after teleport, so it's early for early, very good for early game, when you just want to cast some costly spells. But we're getting points over here to go over here to Tunnel Finder. Teleport has a shorter cooldown. That's where you want to actually put 5 points again. You want to teleport to have the lowest cooldown possible. And also very nice note over here is stun immunity. So if you cast teleport, you get 4 seconds of stun immunity, very useful against bosses and other guys. And as you can see with 3 points over here right now, we got cooldown of 6.9 seconds. With 2 more points, it will be around 6 seconds. So you got only 2 seconds of no stun immunity, and then you're stun immune again. So that's our teleport, and we're using again it's mostly for this buff duration and escaping or just traveling faster. Now our Flame Ward. Flame Ward is really cool. You're gaining a lot of ward instantly, and then for 3 seconds when you're being hit for less damage and you retaliate damage on your attackers. Large cooldown, but damage is nice. For early game, you basically one-shotting a lot of enemies, and we're getting this skill for protective reasons most of the time, of course. But when you're leveling it in early game, I recommend going to the bottom first, getting 3 points in here to increase mana efficiency and also increase duration, and then getting Flame Fire Aura. Basically, you will ignite enemies around you, deal fire damage, so it's powerful tool to get packs early game a lot faster, and you don't need a lot of protection early game, so you can get like 2 points, like a few points in here. In Infusion, Flame Ward will grant you increased fire damage, and again, probably you will use a lot of fire damage at this point, like fireballs maybe, or it's just increasing damage of this fire aura. But then you want to have this node, Frost Ward. When to get this node? You want to get this node when you will be able to unlock Shatter Strike. Shatter Strike doing cold damage and cold damage only, so at this point you want to convert this Fire Ward into Frost Ward. And this fire damage will be converted to frost damage at the same time. That's how synergy works. Basically right now it's like 7.8k damage. We activating Flame Ward, it increasing our cold damage. So our cold damage right now is already 9k, and that's basically how it works with all buffs possible. Right now I'm already getting like 20k damage. It's basically tripled from initial like damage numbers, because normally I got like 7.8, now I almost at 21k, so that's nice synergy. Of course you want to have like more points in this node, so make sure to invest in it a little bit. And now protective nodes, get them when you're kinda like need a lot of protection. When you're feeling you're starting to die a lot, maybe you can start getting points in here. Mostly you will use this Flame Ward earlier for damage, but later in the like corruption levels and other stuff, you want to get these nodes instead. It will be stalwart defense, you will get more ward granted, get like 1 or 2 points in here to go to this node. Now Flame Ward will give you additional ward based on your missing health. Here you can have like even 3 points. It's very powerful stuff, because you know when you're in danger you just press Flame Ward and you will get a lot of ward, very powerful. And then you want to increase ward granted in percentage based, so not just like 10 ward granted, it will be granted 20 more percent. It's super powerful node too, because normally you get in 400 ward, 20% with just 2 points is already like plus 100 ward. So same as like 3 points over here. And then you get in dual ages. Flame Ward now can store additional charge. And now you can use it twice before it goes on cooldown, and basically that's our rotation of skills. So we kinda got this awesome enchant weapon buff, awesome Flame Ward buff, and teleport buff. And we kinda doing everything. We're getting all buffs and starting to attack with our Shatter Strike. Maybe restore some mana a little bit, and then teleport will go off cooldown, and we got all buffs depleted basically. Now we just teleport back and started to run around the map. While we're running around the map, enemies will gather up together, and you just activate defense, everything, and just melt them and rinse and repeat basically. Also nodes to look for, this nodes is very good for higher levels. Barrier, you will just reduce less hit damage taken, so flat reduced damage taken is really powerful stuff. And also elemental damage taken reduced, so this nodes is really powerful, get points in here. And in the late game I actually recommend like having maybe 2 points in infusion and getting more points in buffer and barrier. You need more protection later in the game, you will have enough damage with other buffs. And now our Mana Strike. So Mana Strike can be swapped for Focus, just in case you wish like standing in Focus, you know, restoring your mana. But I don't like Focus, especially for this build, because you know we're running with the blades. I didn't want to stand still doing nothing. I better like use all my mana in like few seconds with Shatter Strike, and then restore mana with Mana Strikes, then do Shatter again and rinse and repeat. It's looking cool, it's fun. Standing still restoring mana is not fun. That's why Mana Strike will be leveled like this. First of all, you want to get Arcanist Blade to the left to increase your mana gain from this strike. You're using it to gain mana after all. Then you're going with Swift Sap, increasing your attack speed. So more times you attack per second, more mana you regain. I guess it's like self-explanatory. Then you get in 1 point in Sprite Blade, and that will increase area of effect of the spell. And then you get in this point. Mana Strike will grant you more mana. You want to have 3 points in here, maybe even 4, but 3 points just to get to this node. Critical mana. Mana Strike grants mana when it critically strikes an enemy. And we're getting 2 points in here at first, just 2 points, to get to this node. Critical Strike Rejuvenation. Basically, right now Mana Strike won't be beneficial from Critical Strike multiplier. But Mana Strike doing just like almost 2k damage per second right now, and that's not a lot. And we're using it solely to restore our mana. So we better hit more critical strikes to gain more mana on crit, and it will be a lot more with mana drain, and we will hit more enemies with Sprite Blade, and basically with more attack speed, it will replenish your all mana pool in just a second. So right now I got 17 points in here. All my later points will be in critical mana and also in Sprite Blade, and that's it basically. And now we're going to Shatter Strike. Oh, no. Let's go with Enchant Weapon first. So Enchant Weapon, it basically, when you press it, your melee attacks will deal 50% more elemental damage for 5 seconds. It's active. And passive, your melee attacks dealing 15% more elemental damage. What does it mean like passive? Look, we got Shatter Strike over here. It's 6.8k, but I don't have this skill on my hotbar. But if I will just, pick it on the hotbar, right now it's already plus 1k damage. So that's how it works. So what nodes we want over here? Instantly we want to go to the bottom right to get concentration to increase active duration. Normal active duration is 5 seconds. With this stuff it will be 9 seconds. And that's insanely important stuff. Then you're going to the bottom right again, efficiency. Now activating enchant weapon costs less mana, and you're dealing more damage, elemental damage. So that's mostly like damage node. And eventually you want to have 4 points in here to just increase damage. But don't rush too much. Instead, you want to go to the celerity. It will give you melee attack speed. So more attack speed, more attacks, like you shred enemies a lot faster. So then, note to think about. Cleansed by elements. Activating enchant weapon cleanses negative elements but costs more mana. It's pretty cheap skill. Right now I got mana cost of 15. We definitely can afford it. So cleanse alignments is really powerful node, and get it earlier, I would say. But then when you come into really powerful end build, go with Shivering Blade. You have increased chance to chill enemies with melee attacks. And while this spell is active, you get double this chance. So it's pretty nice stuff, because we're using Frost weapon that chills enemies. And also Frost Brand, increasing melee cold damage and adding melee cold damage. So that's note to think about, to drop some skills in here. It's definitely nice to have more skills than 20 points to invest a little bit in efficiency, in Frost Brand, to increase our frost damage even more while this buff is active. But also I like this stuff. Desperation. While this stuff is active, you deal increased elemental damage with melee attacks, proportional to how much mana you are missing when enchant weapon is activated. And this is proportional to mana percentages. So it doesn't matter, do you have 1k mana or just 100. You deplete your mana, you're doing more damage. So while it's active, we're activating, we got 17k damage. We lose all mana, it's already plus 1k. And most damage is actually dealt after you cast Shatter Strike, because look, we are right now coming to Shatter Strike node, and basically it will look like this. Instead of just doing one attack, you will do attack and it will auto-cast a few times one more. So while you're depleting your mana, these attacks continue to attack, and basically every attack will do a lot more damage. That's, in my opinion, really powerful and cool stuff. So let's go to this node. What and how we're leveling Shatter Strike. Basically, you sweep in melee attack that strikes enemies in circle around you, dealing cold damage and instantly killing frozen enemies below 100 health. That's not a big deal, because enemies will have 1 million health. Who cares about 100 health? And it's nice to know how this skill is scaled. Melee damage will be scaled with dexterity, and also you will gain an 8 melee cold damage per 1 point of dexterity. So a little bit of dexterity on your gear. It's not really cool, you don't want a lot of dexterity, but still the skill scales with dexterity, so why not to have a little bit? Don't toss away your gear if you got some dexterity on it. But with intelligence, you're gaining more cold damage and freeze rate multiplier. And with Shatter, we can go in 2 directions, depending on how you like the playstyle. If you like to do more Shatters yourself and attack more with Shatter and rely less on Mana Strike, then go to the left side. If you're enjoying what you just saw, go to the right side. So anyway, at first you will be going to the left side and getting 2 points in Shiver to increase area and cold penetration. Then you get 2 points in Cold Steel to increase critical strike multiplier. per sword. And that's why we dual wielding. So each sword will increase critical strike multiplier. And this node is really important. You want to have 4 points in here, but also you can just increase flat damage and reduce a little bit of attack speed with absolute 0. So that's our left part. 3 nodes, adjust points in here, make sure to get 4 points in cold steel later, but just 3 points is more than enough. Then we go into the right side. 2 points in lingering chill. You will globally increase cold damage, so all your cold damage scaling will be increased, and freeze rate multiplier. So powerful stuff, very nice, but just 2 points in here to get to this node. Rest of cold will increase damage and area. So now area is really big with this stuff, and at the same time damage is increased, but that's the skill, white out. Now Shattering Strike will recast itself a few times depending on how much points you spend here. I spent 2 points. It will double its mana cost, reduce attack speed, but again, who cares when you're scaling with attack speed anyway, you get really high attack speed, minus 20% won't hurt you a lot, and you will basically with one cast do 3 attacks. And mana cost is not tripled, so that's super powerful node that increasing damage dramatically. It's just super insanely powerful. And also you can just get a little bit over here to increase your attack speed, so you can have 2 points in here just to cover this attack speed loss from this node, and then get back to cold steel, increase critical strike multiplier per sword. With 4 points you will get 120% per sword, so multiplier of critical strike hits is really crazy. Scaling is insane, damage will be insanely higher with just few more levels. And I guess you're enjoying this build already. You want to try it out, but you won't be able to do it without right passives. So, passives. Let's start with Mage, our main class we're starting with. And here with Mage you get 8 points in Scholar, which will give you health and mana, and also Arcanist. It will give you intelligence, fire resistance, and lightning resistance. If you want to deal more damage, swap Scholar with Elementalist, but I guess in early game and when you get in your idols that will give you percentage of health, you want to be a little bit tanky as frontline mage, so Scholar is maybe a little bit better. This won't really increase your damage dramatically. So then we got already 16 points in here, and you get in Mage Flurry. It will increase your attack speed, and after 3 points it will increase cooldown recovery speed for teleport and for snap freeze. As I told you in early game, I'm using teleport and snap freeze most of the time with elemental nova and other stuff. So 4 points in here will be 20 points in Mage, and you can swap to Spellblade in the campaign at this point. Other nodes in this Mage category that you want to pick, but later in the game, finish Mage Flurry with 5 points, get 1 point in Reactive Ward just to get to this place. Warden. Ward retention plus 50%. Again, we're relying on Ward pretty a lot of time, so getting 5 points in here is really nice idea. Get it when you start feeling that you're dying very fast and you need more ward retention. Probably it will be around level 50, you will scale a little bit defenses. Now let's go to Spellblade. So a Spellblade, it's super easy. We get our damaging node, it's infused weapon, so get some points in here until you can finally get this arcane shielding, and that's very useful again when you melee mage. So arcane shielding will give you reduced damage taken with arcane shield, and arcane shield is gained when you're hitting someone with melee attack. So really easy to get when you're going with melee weapons. And also getting ward per second. So just standing still and you will gain some ward up to really nice numbers by doing nothing. Then 5 points in Shattered Ages. You increase in stacks, maximum stacks of this arcane shield just by spending 1 point here, but reducing effect. So you need to do multiple attacks to make this effect more stronger than before. But also you increase in armor per each stack, so it's really powerful stuff, really powerful node. But don't rush, just get enough points to get to this part of the screen. Basically, you need 25 points in here. And that's basically where you want to get a little bit in Arcane Warden, which will give you more ward gained, or just more points in Infused Weapon, depending on what you want more. I like a little bit more ward, but it doesn't matter, you eventually will get more points in here. I'm still not max level, so basically it's 10 points in these shields, 18 points with Arcane Warden or Infused Weapon, and you just need 7 points in some of these nodes. And that will leave you to this Gemini. Gemini will give you ability to equip swords in offhand. With this build, you're looking for Abyssal Crystal Sword. It's a mage sword, which will increase melee elemental damage and elemental melee attack speed. So, Shatter Strike scaling with cold, melee, dexterity, and intelligence. With this build, you want to focus on flat melee damage, on some cold penetration, freeze multiplier, but mostly on critical strike chance and critical strike multiplier. So just get as high as possible critical strike chance and you will be fine. Attack speed, flat melee damage, critical strike chance. That's what you're looking for. Elemental damage is nice too, so that's basically a scale with this text. And after Gemini occurred and you get the swords. The swords, by the way, if you don't know where to get them, you can just go to trader, and trader always sells some of the swords, most of the time. Or just equip any other like sword. You should have the swords like eventually. It's not really hard to get. So then Mana River. You have additional health and you have a chance to regain mana when you use a melee attack and hit at least one enemy. You get a chance to regain 10 mana, and chance to gain mana on hit will be higher with more levels in this node, so make sure to get a little bit in here. But for damage scaling, focus on Prismatic Blade. It will give you more dexterity, more different elemental damage. We're looking on cold, of course, so get all 8 points here. It scales really nicely with our damage. And then Volca's Razor, so it will increase elemental damage with high cost melee attacks. That costs more than 10 mana. Our Shatter Strike costs more than 10 mana, so it scales with our Shatter Strike. And then 3 nodes over here. You want to have like 5 in each, and then level them up. So we got intelligence and word per second. Really nice to gain more word and like scale our damage at the same time. And Prodigy, you gain word per second for each point of intelligence you have. So that's like fully protective stuff. And Outrun and Outlast. You gain more health and word retention. So my character is still lacking 8 points. Last points would be allocated in Volca's Razor to increase damage, in Infused Weapon to increase damage even more, maybe a little bit to Outrun and Outlast to increase health and word retention. I think it's powerful stuff. And if you wish to allocate last points somewhere, go to Runemaster and get some points in Sphere of Protection. You will take less damage from ignited, shocked, or chilled enemies. You will chill enemies, so you will take less damage, and also you will increase your health. Health is really important. Right now I have no health gear or like any other stuff like idols, and I already got 1.3k with a lot of word. So with right gear we will get like really tanky cool character. It's easy to play, it's cool, it's fun, it's interesting. As always, item filters, look for my Google Sheet in description and in pinned comment, and see you in the next videos.